Disney is currently stealthily removing Snow White from cinemas, banning it from whole nations, and attempting to eradicate it from consciousness.
Sorry.
Rachel Zegler recently learned the true nature of rock bottom, and spoiler alert, it's more lawnier than a Snow White movie at a retirement home with billions of dollars, burned out theaters, and a family group chat after you ask for a loan and are standing in the middle of this flaming wreckage. Today, we're delving into what went wrong and why Disney is now acting as though Snow White never even happened. To set the scene, theater owners who were required by contract to screen Snow White began pleading with Disney to allow them to end the show early. Imagine being so desperate that you're willing to replace a Disney princess with a PowerPoint presentation on the history of shoelaces, and some theaters didn't even wait for permission, just booted Snow White off the screens like a bad Tinder date. One guy literally replaced it with a rerun of Sharknado 3, which is biblically disrespectful. However, when the internet broke in, a fan posted a video inside a Snow White screening, and it was empty.
Okie dokie. I am walking into Snow White, 2 p.m., now seating. Let's see how empty it is. I hope, it's off the walk we go. I hope. Sound like I hear a couple of people. 1, 2.
The place was so empty that you could count the number of people there and still have 10 fingers left to text your friends about how depressing it was. The atmosphere was more like a high school assembly than a magical Disney experience, and you honestly forgot to cancel. You could have put on a horror film there and nobody would have noticed, and if you felt that was awful from abroad, you would have said, "Hold my popcorn." Disney made a film so awful that a whole country answered, "No thanks, we're good forever." Lebanon outright banned the film from distribution, not merely from cinemas across the entire nation. Back in the US, however, Disney experienced their biggest embarrassment to date, Lilo and Stitch. Yes, the 2002 film about the weird alien dog was on track to surpass Snow White's entire domestic run. On its first weekend of release, Lilo beat Snow White. Disney, you good? You just got pantied by a blue chihuahua and a ukulele, and even the merchandise is dying. Disney attempted the time-honored limited edition tactic to generate excitement for Snow White dolls, t-shirts, and mugs. But months later, the shelves are still so full that you could stage a flash mob in the toy aisle and no one would notice. At this point, they could have given the merchandise away with Happy Meals and still had leftovers. One Walmart employee even made a joke on the internet that the Snow White dolls are beginning to form a union and are asking, "Hey, can we leave here too?" You know you made a mistake and are directly in the path of this failing storm when your merchandise is physically haunting the sales section. According to Galgad in an interview, Rachel Zegler is the most popular piñata on the internet because when Snow White fell apart, so did the Backstage drama, and believe me, it leaked more strongly than a cheap inflatable pool. Gal didn't shame Rachel, but she also didn't defend her. Instead, she blamed a corporate misalignment, which is PR jargon for "don't look at me, bro."
I'll deliver the following. The most important thing when you are working on a film is teamwork. And when you have characters like the Evil Queen and Snow White, you expect teamwork to play a role in the creative process when you are trying to put something special together. We didn't really have teamwork, and there were many setbacks that we had to deal with during this entire process. And I just found that to be very exhausting.
And Gal responded, "I'll talk about that when I feel comfortable." When they asked if she would elaborate on Rachel, "There's hot, steaming tea, but you're not ready yet." Meanwhile, Rachel's co-star Andrew Burnup abruptly stopped showing up for the entire premiere, with no photo ops, no press, and it gets worse. At a press conference, Rachel herself had joked that all of Andrew's sequences might be removed, and you could guess what they did.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story, with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no Prince?
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's one of the things.
So true,
it's
yeah.
an inner journey that she goes on to find her true self.
Imagine spending months working on a Disney film just to have your co-star announce to the public that you're essentially being cut or fannied. I would also avoid the red carpet and the country, but hold on, things get much more complicated. Disney's upcoming live-action revamp, which was slated to be the next billion-dollar princess parade, was abruptly canceled. We'd like to unsubscribe from this era. Thank you. You know it's bad when Disney, yes, looks at a billion-dollar princess movie and says, you know what, never mind. No trailers, posters, or TikToks, just proof that it never happened. And guess who was allegedly being eyed for Rapunzel? Rachel. Disney saw the Snow White meltdown, connected the dots, and decided they'd rather eat glass than roll those dice again. When Rachel Zegler arrived at her own movie showing with flowers and a smile, ready to celebrate, the theater was more deserted than a vegan barbecue in Texas. This was the saddest, funniest, and most cruel scene yet.
For which movie?
I'm referring to crickets and tumbleweeds. During Snow White and 7 Empty Rows, you could hear a popcorn kernel fall from the orbit. It was meant to be a victory lap, but instead it became a meme. She brought flowers to her own funeral theaters, which was quite sad. Ghostbusters began charging rent, and if you thought social media would overlook that, you were mistaken. Her flower-holding post became one of the most ratioed posts Disney has ever seen in a matter of hours. The official Snow White page even mocked her, and the box office receipts were appalling. They couldn't even reach $100 million domestically. Even the IMDb scores were lower than your phone battery when you forgot to charge it overnight, and critics began to pile in. You know you've screwed up when Rotten Tomatoes looks like a horror movie blood splatter chart. In addition to being disappointed, people were furious that Disney had wasted their time, furious that childhood memories had been destroyed, furious that Snow White of all things had become a battlefield, and furious that Rachel was carrying more luggage than a Spirit Airlines flight at Christmas, with no one offering to help her unload it. Agents and studios are not interested in it. Co-stars are against it. Everyone is staring at the wreckage as if it were a live stream from a train accident, and they can't take their eyes off it. They're not rushing to save it. But the last blow to the teeth Minecraft, the live-action Minecraft movie, the one everybody said would be too silly, absolutely stomped Snow White out of existence on the opening weekend. No political lectures, no virtual signaling, just cube zombies and Jack Black screaming into a microphone like it's karaoke night at Dave and Buster's. Audiences wanted fun, not a 2-hour TED Talk about why fairy tales are problematic, and just like, that's Snow White's billion-dollar dream turned into Snow White, and the canceled career. Well, insiders saying Rachel's being quietly blacklisted from major studio projects, future roles slipping away, directors hesitating, agents sweating, and Disney moving on. Once a rising star, now she's facing the biggest career question of her life. Can she bounce back, or was Snow White the final chapter before the book even opened? Because in Hollywood, luggage gets heavy real fast, and if you're the one dragging it everywhere you go, eventually the flights stop calling too. And when you think it can't get any messier, oh, don't worry, The Simpsons and Family Guy are already loading the cannons, because if you thought South Park's roast was savage, you ain't seen nothing yet, because it seems like nobody can get enough of roasting Rachel Zegler and her very amazing downfall. I mean, even supposedly Jack Black was roasting her behind the scenes. But that's enough for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below, do you think Rachel Zegler can make a comeback and star in some other Disney movies? Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.